Hey, what's up, everybody? Hellmite from Grab the Lantern here. Today, I got actually a couple of podcasts coming for you guys today. The first one is going to be covering the patch notes, as you can probably tell from the video description. I'm also going to be doing one very shortly about the Camille reveal, which happened today. This is a very poor day for me to have work until 7, but what can you do? We're just going to deal with it now. We're going to talk about patch notes, then we're going to get straight into Camille and have a bit of a discussion about that. So obviously this patch is coming at a bit of a weird time. Normally it feels like Riot put up patches on Wednesday as opposed to Tuesday, but especially given that there's a holiday this week, they were clearly trying to get it out the door sooner so that way their employees could go home, be with family, that sort of thing, if they had any plans coming for this Thursday and Thanksgiving. So we got a patch today, so I'm going to be doing... So I intend to do one of these podcasts every time a new patch comes out, just to run through the changes real quick, kind of talk about how it might affect the game and what's going on. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the patch 6.23 patch notes. Sorry, my throat is a little clogged right now, but we'll go through it as best we can. So, big thing first, Shyvana changes. We talked about this a little bit before in my most recent Grab Bag podcast, so I won't cover that too much. Suffice to say, I am very excited for the Shyvana changes. I think she's going to be a lot stronger than she was before, and I personally really like playing Shyvana, so it's going to be exciting to see, kind of have an opportunity to play her again, and hope that she's not quite as bad as she was before. Not that she was bad, but hope that she's not as bad design-wise as she was before, see if she can help out a little bit in that way. So number one, looking at that. Next thing is Akali. So if you're not reading the patch notes, I'll give you a brief rundown. So basically they're buffing Akali right now because she is not performing quite as well as they would have liked. So Twin Disciplines, her passive, the heal ratio is going up and the damage ratio is going up. More ability power ratio, I should say. Not attack damage ratio, those are staying the same. So basically it's giving Akali better damage when she actually gets into a fight, it's getting her better healing, and it's giving her better spikes of damage while she's in the middle of a fight. Akali isn't going to 100 to 0 you, but she kind of pops out of stealth, you know, pops all her buttons, gets the 2 auto attacks, Twilight Shroud, waits for cooldowns, hits you again, goes back in Shroud, waits for cooldowns, that sort of thing. It's kind of how her playstyle should work, so having the extra oomph on Twin Disciplines is going to help her out quite a bit during these fights. Twilight Shroud, meanwhile, is also getting buffed. It has lost 20 energy of its cost at every rank, so it'll be a lot more easily for Akali to use it in the middle of hectic fights, again, contributing to this play pattern. Finally, Crescent Slash is gaining bonus attack damage and ability power ratios, so she'll be doing a little bit more damage on that ability, feel a little bit more extra oomph, just to help her actually get kills, because right now she's really suffering from in that regard. So Akali getting buffed. Anivia definitely getting nerfed. Primarily what Riot's doing with Anivia is reducing the effectiveness of her RE cooldown, which, quite frankly, was pretty bullshit. She could just drop the R under you, or even E first and then R under you, and you would take a bunch of free, unmitigatable damage, plus a Thunderlord's proc. And it was really, really ridiculous, especially for a champion who's supposed to be weak early, and who really isn't supposed to be bursting. So, Riot is nerfed that. Now Glacial Storm, or Frostbite, only deals 200% damage if the target was afflicted by a Q, stun, or a fully formed Glacial Storm. Otherwise, it doesn't matter, you won't get that bonus damage. So, that's a huge blow to Anivia's laning phase and lane presence. However, she's gotten buffs in other regards. Crystallize's cooldown is down to 17 seconds at all ranks from 25, which is a really big buff as it gives Anivia more opportunities to wall opponents and set up Glacial Storm. And Glacial Storm will now fully form in 1.5 seconds from 3. So, a target won't immediately take the 200% damage, but they don't have very much time to react to it. I think overall this is a good change. It gives Anivia a little bit more reliability. She can get the fully formed Glacial Storm a lot quicker. Now, the Glacial Storm's damage has been cut in half to compensate, but the fact that it does get up to its maximum size that much quicker is a big deal. Oh, I actually did not notice this. Empowered Storms deal 300% damage. So the overall damage of Anivia's Glacial Storm is the same, but because it ramps up faster now, she can get to that damage a lot more quickly. So, arguably, it's a nerf to Anivia's laning presence because she can't REU for tremendous damage. But it's, I think, overall a buff to Anivia's late game damage and her team fighting potential. Evelyn, just a bug fix on Shadow Walk, so you don't have the constant gray screen while you're stealthing. Katarina, bug fix. Lux, also a bug fix, more of a help for colorblind people, widening the cast indicator line so it's easier to read. Malzahar, meanwhile, is also getting a bunch of changes, and I don't really understand them myself, but we're going to walk through it here real quick. All the changes are directed at Void Swarm, because currently it is a very unclear ability how it works. Previously what it was is Void Swarm summons a Voidling at target location. The Voidling attacks something, he spawns another Voidling. And you can get up to, I think, almost limitless Voidlings as long as they keep hitting things. And when there are 3 or more, they all become frenzied and start attacking more quickly. The biggest issue is that it's not very easy for players to figure out how Void Swarm works. And the other issue is, how do you counterplay it when the Voidlings are chasing you down and he's got Rylai's and they're dealing a bunch of damage and you're slowed and you can't escape and all this kind of thing. So Riot have basically changed Void Swarm. I think overall this is a net nerf to Void Swarm. The mana cost has gone down, has been cut in half actually. So it's only 40 mana, so Malzahar will be able to use this a lot more frequently in lane, and it can store up to 2 charges, so Malzahar will be able to summon more Voidlings quickly. However, Voidlings now have 3 health, similar to Xyrus plants. So they'll take 1 full health of damage every time they suffer an auto attack or a spell. So they're a lot easier to kill now, especially the people like Xerath or Ziggs who have really good long-range wave clear. Voidlings also deal, looks like, bonus attack damage. They do a flat amount of attack damage instead of percentage. So Voidlings, I think that's generally a buff because Malzahar didn't build that much AD in the first place. They also can spawn other Voidlings within 3 seconds of the cast, so that you'll be able to start getting more Voidlings a lot more quickly. However, Voidlings won't spawn other Voidlings by killing minions, and they don't execute low-health minions, but they deal 300% damage to minions affected by Malefic Visions, and they only gain bonus movement speed towards priority targets if they're within 600 units of Malzahar. That was a lot of changes, so let's go through it real quick. Voidlings now are much better when going against priority targets that have been afflicted by Malefic Visions, and they're not very effective just on their own like they were before. Before, if you got Malefic Visions on you, the Voidlings would run you down. Malzahar's got a Rylai's Crystal Scepter, you're slowed forever, he's got a Liandry's, you're taking a ton of damage from Voidlings, and there really wasn't much you could do about it. Now, however, because they only gain the bonus movement speed if they're within 600 units of Malzahar, Malzahar has to commit to a fight if he wants his Voidlings to stay on a target. Otherwise, you'll be able to run away from him just fine. They're also a lot more easily killed, so you can murder them a lot faster, especially if you have someone like Caitlyn with a Runeans who just auto-attacks them and kills them all really quickly. Overall, a nerf to Malzahar, I think, but generally I'm on board with this because Malzahar is a really low counterplay champion. I absolutely detest his design, so I think this is a good change for him. Orianna bug fix, Rengar bug fix. Shen got some minor buffs to his early game. Not really that significant. His armor growth stat is up by 0.4, and his health growth stat is up by 8. I can do math. Maybe. That was not 8. That's 12. So, in general, Shen is going to be a little bit tankier throughout the game because he gets more armor and health per level. Not a huge change, but hopefully it's enough to bring him back into the meta because he kind of fell off and hasn't been back since the patch prior to Worlds. Yorick also has a revert to his change. Before, Dark Procession would cast at maximum range if you weren't... what is the best way for me to describe this? Basically, the idea was Yorick will walk into range to cast Dark Procession instead of casting it at max range in the target direction. So, what this means is that you won't accidentally cast the W and miss it if it's at the very max range. Instead, Yorick will keep walking forward and try to make sure he can get someone in the Wall of Ghouls. So, if you play Yorick, now you know. Blade of the Ruin King, a slight buff, now does 8% of the target's current health from 6% of the target's current health. Just a slight buff because right now a lot of the champions that should build Blade of the Ruin King, like Vayne, really aren't because it just doesn't do enough damage. So, they're buffing it here, so that way it's a lot better in duels for the people who want to use it. Ginsu's Rageblade has also gotten a buff. Before, when you upgraded it to Ginsu's, you got 0% attack speed, even though built out of a recurve bow, so you actually lost attack speed when you finish your Ginsu's Rageblade, which felt pretty bad, especially because you need attack speed in order to get the stacks. So, Ginsu's was only good if you already had an attack speed item to help. Nowadays, Ginsu's will now grant 25% attack speed upon completion, and no gold cost has been increased for Rageblade. Straight buff. Champions who built it before will love it even more. So beware of Jax, Kale, all those good champions. Steric's Gauge is also getting a slight buff here. The combined cost has gone down by 100 gold. Naturally, the total cost has gone down by 100 gold. It's a little bit cheaper for champions to get, especially because it hasn't felt as great as it used to, especially at that price point. So it'll be a little bit easier to purchase, so you can get that a little bit earlier and hopefully use it to mitigate damage in team fights. Lord Van Dam's Pillager, we don't really care about. That's a Twisted Treeline change. If you're interested, you've probably already read it. And jungle changes are getting... Our jungle is getting some general changes based off the what happened in the last patch. Obviously... Okay, I'll deal with that later. But, so anyways, plants are now immune to critical strikes and lifesteal. Doesn't really matter that much, but especially if you had things like... Essence Reaver, or if you had lifesteal, you can no longer get any benefit from that for hitting a plant. So, I think that's a pretty decent quality of life change. Blast Cone has bug fixes, Honeyfruit has bug fixes, and Scryer's Bloom has updated indicator texture. So really, actually no big changes to the jungle besides the plants becoming immune to crits and lifesteal. Jungle experience, however, has had some changes. Right now, Krugs take a long time to kill, and they don't really give you that much XP. And Raptors don't take very much time to kill and give you a decent amount of HP. So they're swapping that around. Raptors now grant 15 experience from 65, and lesser Krugs now grant 15 experience from 5. What this means is that Krugs will grant a lot more experience than before, and Raptors a lot less. I think it's generally a good change. I'm interested to see how it shakes up. Krugs still feel like they're going to take a long time, and I'm not sure that an increase of 10 experience per small Krug is worth it, but I guess we'll find out how that shakes up in the meantime. The overall experience values in the red side jungle haven't changed. Additionally, one last change I really wanted to talk about is the teleport and recall camera has been changed, so if you take damage while you're channeling teleport or recall, actually if the channel is interrupted by someone other than yourself, the camera will snap to your location. So if you're looking bot lane, you're channeling your teleport, you're waiting to go, and you get hit by something like a Malphite ult, the camera will immediately jump back to where you were and let you know you're under attack, and let you respond a little bit more quickly to those interrupts. Finally, it looks like position preference, just a quick update for you guys, Riot has backed off of the changes they were making to the queue. Before, like I kind of talked about in a previous, my first podcast actually, Riot was changing role select to be about 2 positions that you would prefer to play and 1 position you could exclude. However, after testing in LAN and LAS, they realized that it was negatively impacting queue times, so they will not be continuing development on it. So autofill is enabled on all queues to compensate, so you have the chance of being randomly filled into a role that you did not select specifically, but the exclusion feature has been removed. I think you had to do it, and I think it was really, really overly optimistic of Riot to instate it in the first place, but what can you do? That is going to be it for the patch note rundown today. I hope you guys found this informational, enjoyable, maybe at least a bit entertaining. Please let me know what I can do to improve the format in the future, as I will be doing this for every patch going forwards. Hopefully I won't be having to do 2 podcasts in the same day to do it, but we'll do what we can. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and as it does help me in what I do, and it lets me know what you guys enjoy. Leave me any feedback in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see some more from Grab the Lantern. Once again, this has been Hellmite, and I will talk to you all later.